Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The stories of the Prophet's companions are always full of wisdom and inspiration, one of which is Uthman bin Affan, a generous caliph whose alms still flows to this day. Did you know that he once bought a well from a Jew and donated it to the people? In fact, the account in the name of Uthman bin Affan is still recorded today. Curious about this extraordinary story? Come on, watch it to the end. Yes, you heard it right. The oldest account in the world is owned by Uthman bin Affan, one of the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, as well as the third caliph. Amazingly, the balance is still growing until this second. How come? Even though Uthman bin Affan died in the year 35 Hijri, it means that the age of the account is more than 1400 years. Uthman bin Affan was born in the midst of a prominent Quraysh family. He came from the Umayyad Bani, one of the most influential tribes in Makkah. Since childhood, Uthman has been known as a gentle, polite, and commendable figure. His respectful attitude towards others makes him admired by many people. In the world of trading, Uthman was a very successful trader. His wealth is abundant from the results of the business he runs with full honesty. He has never cheated, taken the rights of others, or committed fraud in buying and selling. His honesty made many people believe in him, and his business grew rapidly. However, in the midst of his success, Uthman bin Affan never neglected to do good to others. He is known as a philanthropist who enjoys helping the poor and needy. For him, wealth is just a trust that must be used for good. One day in the city of Mecca, a young Quraysh who was known for his meekness and noble character was sitting contemplating. He was Uthman bin Affan, a successful merchant of the Umayyad tribe. His life was filled with treasures and honors, but there was something that always plagued his mind, a search for true truth. Uthman bin Affan grew up in a rich and influential environment. He is known as someone who is very honest, generous, and loved by many people. However, despite having everything, his heart felt empty. He often heard about Muhammad bin Abdullah, a man who claimed to be an envoy of Allah and brought teachings that differed from the beliefs of their ancestors. One day on his trading trip to Sham, Uthman met a Christian priest who told him about the coming of the last prophet of the Arab nation. The pastor's words kept ringing in his mind, making him even more curious about the teachings that Muhammad brought. When Uthman returned to Mecca, Uthman heard that his close friend, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, had followed the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. His curiosity grew, and he met Abu Bakr to ask more about Islam. Abu Bakr gently explained that Islam is a religion that teaches monotheism, worships only Allah, and abandons idolatry. He also told about the revelation that came down to the Prophet Muhammad and how Islam teaches honesty, compassion, and justice. Uthman's heart was moved. Abu Bakr's words touched his soul so much. He felt that this was the truth he had been looking for. Without hesitation, he asked Abu Bakr to bring him to meet the Prophet Muhammad. When meeting with the Prophet, Uthman felt an extraordinary calm. The face of the Prophet radiates the light of kindness and wisdom. In a soft voice, the Prophet recited several verses of the Quran that described the greatness of Allah and an invitation to the truth. His heart was getting steadier. Without thinking long, Uthman bin Affan said 2 sentences of Shahada in front of the Prophet. He promised to abandon all forms of idolatry and worship only Allah. Uthman's Islam is not without challenges. His family from the Umayyads strongly opposed his decision. His uncle even tied him with a rope and tortured him to return to his ancestral religion. However, Uthman remained steadfast in his faith. With all the trials he faced, Uthman never wavered. He still adheres to Islam and even became one of the most generous people in helping the Prophet Muhammad's dawah struggle. Uthman's sincerity and steadfastness in Islam made him closer to the Prophet. He is known as one of the 4 main companions who are guaranteed to enter heaven. The Prophet himself loved Uthman very much and even married him to his daughter, Ruqayyah. The story of Uthman bin Affan's conversion to Islam is proof that the truth will always find its way for those who seek it. He not only accepted Islam with an open heart, but also devoted his life to this religion. Uthman bin Affan's generosity after becoming a Muslim. The story of Uthman bin Affan, who bought a well for Waqf. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Muslims in Medina experienced water difficulties. At that time, the main source of water that could be used was a well called Ruma. However, this well was owned by a Jew who charged a high price for anyone who wanted to take water from it. Poor Muslims often have difficulty getting clean water because of the high price. Seeing this condition, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was concerned. He then said, "Whoever buys the well of the house and walks it for the people, then Allah will give him paradise." Hearing these words, Uthman ibn Affan, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who was famous for being generous, was moved. Uthman ibn Affan went to the owner of the well and offered to buy it. However, the owner was reluctant to sell the entire well. He is worried about losing his source of income. So Uthman also offered another solution, namely buying half of the right to use the well. Finally, the well owner agreed to sell half of his rights at a fairly high price. The agreement was that one day the well belonged to Uthman and could be used free of charge by the community, while the next day it remained the Jewish right, which still charged anyone who wanted to fetch water. After the agreement took place, Uthman immediately announced to the community that on his day, anyone could take water for free. People also flocked to take as much water as possible so that they can store it for the next day. Seeing this, the Jewish owner began to realize that his income had decreased drastically. People preferred to take water on the day it belonged to Uthman rather than buy it the next day. As a result, it is increasingly difficult for him to profit from the well. Finally, the owner of the well felt a loss and returned to see Uthman. He offered to sell the rest of his well rights at the same price as before. Uthman agreed and bought it. Thus, the well of the house is now fully owned by the Muslims and is endowed for the benefit of the ummah. Since then, Muslims in Medina no longer have difficulty getting water. They can take water freely without having to pay. Uthman's decision brought great benefits to the entire community, especially those who were less fortunate. The actions of Uthman bin Affan are one of the clear examples of extraordinary generosity and social care. He not only sacrificed his wealth, but also ensured that his needs were used for the benefit of the ummah at large. This story is also proof that good deeds done with sincere intentions will bring blessings. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ once said that whoever waqfs something for the benefit of the ummah, then Allah will replace it with something better, even give him paradise in return. As a result of this waqf, the Ruma well continues to provide benefits for many years. In fact, until now, traces of Uthman bin Affan's waqf still exist in the form of property management around the well, the proceeds of which are used for the benefit of Muslims. This story teaches us how important it is to give alms and help others, especially in meeting basic needs such as water. With a little sacrifice from someone who is generous, many people can feel the benefits. Uthman bin Affan was not only known as a companion of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ who was rich, but also as someone who always used his wealth for the benefit of the people. His generosity has been an inspiration to many people to this day. In addition, this story also teaches us that good intentions done in a wise way can have a big impact. Uthman did not force the owner of the well to sell all his rights at once, but he used a strategy that eventually made the owner himself realize that selling the well was the best option. History records that Uthman bin Affan was one of the companions who contributed the most to the development of Islam, both materially and in leadership. After becoming caliph, he remained known as a generous leader who put the interests of his people first. By looking at the example of Uthman bin Affan, we can learn that the wealth we own is not only for personal gain, but can also be a way to get blessings and rewards from Allah. This story is a lesson that Islam strongly emphasizes social values and concern for others. Uthman bin Affan understood that giving free water to the community was more valuable than taking personal advantage from the well. In modern times, the concept of waqf applied by Uthman bin Affan can be an inspiration for us in various forms, not only in the form of water, but also education, health, and other social facilities. This story also teaches that a person who has financial ability should use his excess wealth to help others, because in the end, the goodness will return to itself in the form of a multiplied reward. With the existence of this well waqf, Muslims in Medina are easier to carry out their worship. They can perform ablution without difficulty and fulfill their daily needs without the burden of additional costs. In addition, Uthman's actions also strengthened unity among Muslims. With a water source that can be accessed by everyone without discrimination, social life in Medina becomes more harmonious. In Islamic history, Uthman bin Affan is also known as one of the people who financed the expansion of the Prophet's mosque and provided for the needs of Muslim troops in various wars. All of this shows that he is a figure who always puts the interests of the people first. The oldest account belonging to Uthman bin Affan. The history of this account is because Uthman bin Affan was very happy to give alms, especially waqf. Waqf of the Rauma well, when after the migration period from Mecca to Medina, he bought it for 20,000 dirhams, or the equivalent of 5 billion rupiah. In the following periods, the waqf of Uthman bin Affan also developed and became a very large garden. The garden was well cared for during the Ottoman Empire, and when the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was established, the maintenance went better and the garden grew 1,500 date palm trees. The harvest from the garden was divided in half for orphans and the poor. The other half was kept in a bank with an account in the name of Uthman bin Affan. The account is held by the Ministry of Waqf. Thus, the Waqf property also increased until finally it was used to buy a piece of land in the Markazaya area, exclusive area, close to the Prophet's mosque. And on the land was built a 5-star hotel with still using funds from Uthman bin Affan's account. The hotel has 210 rooms ready to rent and 30 special rooms that are ready to welcome tourists in Medina. The hotel stands tall 15 floors with 24 rooms on each floor. The plan is that the hotel will be leased to a well-known hotel management company. The results of the management will remain the same, which will be divided into 2, namely for orphans and the poor, and half will go to Uthman bin Affan's account. The unique fact is that the land and the hotel are registered with the Medina City Planning Office in the name of Uthman bin Affan. Is very extraordinary, the transaction between Uthman bin Affan and Allah. The waqf carried out by Uthman bin Affan can really make the community prosperous who are in great need. The property he owns can be useful even though he has passed away. That's the magic of waqf that we can get. That's all for this video. See you in the next video. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.